Hi, my name is Kate and welcome to our channel. In this video, Dr. Greene, clinical psychologist and the author of Collaborative and Proactive Solutions Approach, will talk on how we can approach these situations in a more effective way without yelling or bribing or timeouts, and still help the children to meet the expectations we might have.
Let's say what they're doing, this is their concerning behavior, is calling out answers during social studies discussions. Right? I don't know what that is, but a lot of people would say that's impulsiveness. I won't know what that is until I try to solve that problem with the kid. So here's how I'm going to word it. I'm going to word it with what expectation the kid is having difficulty meeting. Difficulty raising hand before responding in social studies discussions. So I don't want to throw the kid's concerning behavior at them. I want to talk with them about the expectation they're having difficulty meeting. And by the way, the reason that I'm identifying these unsolved problems proactively is so that I can solve them proactively. I don't want to be solving that problem in the heat of the moment. I want to be solving that problem proactively. Fortunately, or unfortunately, in one respect, this kid's been having difficulty raising their hand before responding in social studies discussions for 5 months. So it's not like this is an unpredictable problem. Why we keep responding to it in the heat of the moment is an excellent question, given that it's now a 5-month-old, if not older, unsolved problem. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk to the kid about that. And there's 3 steps that are involved in the problem-solving process. We might as well talk about them. The first step is called the empathy step. This is where we're gathering information from the kid about what's making it hard for them to meet that expectation. Here's what that would sound like. I've noticed, this is what the empathy step always begins with, I've noticed that, here comes the unsolved problem, you've been having difficulty raising your hand before responding during social studies discussions. What's up? Now we're looking for information from the kid, right? Let's say the kid says, and the kid could say many, many different things. Let's say this kid says, if I don't call out the answer, I won't remember what it was that I wanted to say. Interesting. Is that ADHD? I don't know. And to tell you the truth, I don't know if I care. Right? What I know is that that kid's having trouble remembering what they're going to say unless they call it out. The empathy step would continue till we found out everything that was getting in the kid's way. Define adult concern step is the second step. That's where the adult is entering their concern into consideration. The same concern that might have led them to send the kid out into the hallway because they called out is now helping us solve this problem collaboratively. Here's what that might sound like. My concern is that if you call out the answers, other kids won't get a chance to talk. And it's really important for everybody in our class to have an equal voice so we can hear what everybody has to say. Great concern, right? Time for the third step. This is the invitation. This is where kid and caregiver are collaborating on a solution. But, and this is very important, a solution that must meet 2 criteria. Got to be realistic. Both parties got to be able to do what they're agreeing to do. It's got to be mutually satisfactory, critical, meaning the solution truly addresses the concerns of both parties. Here's what the invitation would sound like. I wonder if there's a way for us to make sure, and what we're going to do here is we're going to recap the concerns of both parties. For us to make sure you remember what it is that you wanted to say, that was the kid's concern, and also make sure that everybody in our classroom has an equal voice so we can hear what everybody in our classroom has to say. It's now been set up for us to start thinking about solutions, right? We're then giving the kid the first crack at the solution. You got any ideas? Usually they do. Let's say the kid says, how about I try to write down what I want to say so I don't forget it, and then other kids will have a chance to say their part too. Now let's think about whether that's realistic. First thing I'm going to do is look at the kid and say, can you really do that? Can you really do that? If they can, we're still in business. Next, I want to know if it's mutually satisfactory. Will that address your concern, kid, that you would forget what you wanted to say? Yes. It would certainly address my concern to make sure that everybody in our classroom has an equal voice and that everybody in our classroom has a chance to share their ideas. Should we roll with that solution? We roll with it. We see if it works over the next 2 or 3 days. If it does, we're good to go. If it doesn't, we're back to the drawing board to see what isn't working about that solution. That's the problem-solving process. Now, I gotta say one more thing. I know I've been talking a lot here.
No, that's a great example, to be honest.
One more thing. A lot of people who are listening right now are probably thinking, isn't that going to take a lot of time? You mean you've been sending this kid out of the classroom for the last 5 months and you think what I just did is going to take a lot of time? This is going to solve the problem. That's a lot of time and it didn't solve the problem. All right, there's my answer.
Yeah, and now from this example, it's so clear for me why is it important to be proactive, because in the heat of the moment, it's hardly realistic to have this conversation to, address the rational part of the brain, like, okay, let's talk. What ideas do you have? No way.
It's not realistic, but it's also not necessary. But this seems to be human nature, right? We don't worry about climate change until the earth is so hot that we can't do anything about it. We don't think about unsolved problems until we're in the thick of them again, right? I want to point out, that's a 5-month-old unsolved problem. We had 5 months to solve it, and here it still is. And the reason here it still is because we didn't solve it yet.